I want to do a hopefully quick video talking about the current status of the tech job market. A lot of you out there, I know from the comments and from social media and just other videos on YouTube, anecdotal stories, all that stuff, are having a pretty horrible time trying to find a job in this market. And some of us are just wondering, how is this even possible? You have all these companies and all these roles that are open and all this work that supposedly needs to be done. How can they just not hire? How surely AI has already taken the jobs, right? Like, we're trying to find some narrative that explains this in a logical way. But what you need to remember about a job market is that it is a market. It is not a job sorting machine. It is not perfect. It does not make rational decisions all the time. It can behave erratically and defy logic, and it can do it for longer than you think it should, right? The stock market does the same thing. There's that old saying about the markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. And I think there's a very nice parallel there for the job market, especially when you're looking at an industry like tech, which just tends to be volatile and cyclical in nature anyways. So where does this leave us going forward? Some of you have this knowledge, you've made sacrifices to get some training, some experience, education. You may have debt that you need to service here pretty soon, and you're wondering, if I take a job outside of the tech industry, am I going to be doomed? Am I shutting doors? Or do I just need to hold out a little bit longer and do this interview grind? And the truth is that nobody can tell you the right answer to that. The annoying answer is you have to dig into the data. You got to look at the long-term employment trend lines for projected job growth in different fields from like the BLS, and where were they headed before even the boom that we've had recently that was followed by this layoff kind of post-AI bust, right? Where was the growth? Where was the realistic long-term growth that wasn't built on some short-term hype, but was just built on general economic growth, advertising money, selling products to people who have money because they have a pretty decent paying job. They don't have FU money working for Google and Facebook, but just your general consumers doing good. And that's driving this tech industry to do really well as also because their products and services scale without a lot of additional costs. That's what we want to look at. And also we look at the software career field. Like, is it getting more complex or less complex? I can tell you, at least from what I've seen so far at this company where I've been at, the bureaucracy is getting more complex. We have more audit requirements, more privacy laws that get written, every year, varies state to state. That's messy human language that has to be translated into business requirements. Those problems have to be translated into code. Well, they have to be translated into actual solvable problems, that those can be translated into coding solutions, maybe, right? So that sort of stuff you have to keep in mind. I don't think that we're on the cusp of some machinery that's all of a sudden just going to take a large Fortune 500 company, right, and just distill all its functionality into its most essential form. It's this truth table that only contains the bare minimum numbers of ones and zeros to solve every input and come up with every output. Like, that's some BS. That's some quantum computing sci-fi shit right there, and I just don't think we're there yet. Maybe I'm a dummy and I'm just at some dying company and I'm slowly gonna just turn to dust with the rest of it, but I don't think so. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think it may not bounce back up as fast as it went down, and some of these systems, this job market, tech stocks, they have this ability to have this long, slow increase and then a quick drop off, and it's called a negative bias or positive bias or something like that. But when they do drop, in your brain, it's so much more severe than the long, steady good news that it seems more important, it seems just like more, right? But in reality, it's just the reflection, it's the opposite end, it's the yin and the yang. It's to be expected, it's normal behavior, right? It's a feature, not a bug, I guess. I don't know, it's a pretty shitty feature, but that's just how it works. Markets are irrational. I think we are, to relate it to the stock market, we way overshot the trend line. Now we're way back down. and we're just trying to see if is it gonna bounce back quickly or is it gonna take its sweet ass time, right? And so what do you do at this decision point? Well, I can tell you what you don't do. You don't fall into a pessimistic mindset. And I'm not talking about being optimist in the form of rainbows and unicorns, manifesting positive things and they happen. But what I'm talking about is just, if you don't hear anything, assuming negative, right? If you don't hear anything, you don't have any information yet. And the problem, if you fall into pessimism with the job market and opportunities like this, is that the people who weren't pessimistic, the people who were just slightly optimistic or just stayed positive and kept doing the grind, kept coding, kept doing lead code, kept putting their resume back in the top of the queue, right? Every couple months. When things do start to slowly warm up, we won't feel it. There's not going to be a bunch of YouTube videos that say, yo, job switch is back on, go ahead and game on, let's all go get jobs at Google and Facebook again. No, it's going to be this very slow rumble, right? And then people who were persistent are slowly going to be taken out of the picture of job hunting misery. But by the time that you guys hear about it, if you weren't putting in the work, it's going to be too late. By the time the trend is obvious, now you're competing with people trying to buy in at the top, to use the stock market analogy. By the time your taxi driver has heard about a stock, it is time to sell. You should have sold yesterday, right? And that's another stock analogy that holds true to this example. Because by the time that I heard about the tech jobs and chose computer science, I was almost too late. I was so close, only because I was a complete neurotic psycho about getting that internship early, was able to get the job offer before any of this crap started. But again, it was just luck. I was just at the right place at the right time. I was a boomer buying a house. You don't want to be in that position where you're too late. So yes, you can say, hey, check please, this risk reward isn't worth it, right? I'm not willing to put in the time to keep chasing this dream because it just makes more sense to be an electrician. Like, it's just a nice input versus output dollars calculation. Whatever you got to do within your framework and your values is the right decision. But make sure you do your homework, do your research, and don't try and just brush away very complicated things like a job market and economic cycles, things that can't be explained by people who just go to school half their life. Don't just pick up some quick, convenient narrative for why it's so, right? Get the data, make your own decision, recognize that operating in this world is the balance of risk-taking and risk averseness. It's the gray area, right? It's really, there's no playbook. You just do your best with what you have. Good luck with your decision. Thank you again for all the comments and the support. We are over 1,000 subs from these last 2 videos. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a comment with your thoughts and stay positive out there. All right, bye.